Hi everyone, and welcome to your first cultural lecture from Rolling Robots. And the first thing we're going to be focusing on is empathy and robots. Now, empathy is the ability to feel what another is feeling, but robots don't have feelings because robots aren't alive. So let's talk a little bit about how this happens from a general social science perspective. There is this idea that in order for us to empathize with an inanimate object, we need to personify it. To personify something is to give it human traits, even though it is not human, and that's the act of personification. So, part of personifying a robot in our lives, and you'll read how people are able to personify all kinds of robots. They don't have to look human. The study that you're going to read, it was just a little red box on the table, and people connected to it. Why? Because it had a name and a story. And here's two aspects that make that story connect to us in a way that we personify and then we empathize. First is that story has to cause a visceral reaction to us. Now, the term visceral comes from of or pertaining to the viscera, and that's all our guts, right? That idea of we feel a story, a connection in our stomach. We feel that swell, that flutter, that sinking, that punch, and suddenly something is part of us, right? I'll give an example of my own life. I had a computer, and I named that computer Bernice because this little tiny PC I had in the early 2000s stayed with me as I wrote a 200 plus page dissertation. And we spent so much time together that she was part of that story for me. There was this visceral connection I felt of all the times when I felt that sinking of frustration, that swell of victory as I moved through that process. And when she finally died, I was sad. And the second thing is, I was sad because she was a collaborator in her stories. And the word to collaborate means to work with another. And there is this idea that when an object becomes part of that work that matters to us, that created that visceral reaction, it becomes alive to us in some ways. We know it's not alive, but it is personified enough that we can empathize and want it to keep working with us. So that we grieve if it's lost, we grieve if it dies. So that is your first lecture for this unit on empathy and personification in robots. I am so excited to see your response in the discussion and the infographics. I'll talk to you soon.